Welcome back to the dojo, y'all. Welcome back to the daily discussions. I'm your host, Professor Hawk. I'm glad you could join me. I'm glad you tuned in. The topic of discussion for today: your mind has a mind of its own. Yeah, man. That might seem a little weird, a little far-fetched when you first hear it. But think about it. You ever wondered how your heartbeat just knows how to beat, how to regulate your blood flow? Your lungs, while you sleep, they continue to breathe. You don't have to consciously do anything to have your lungs draw breath. Sometimes when something moves really quickly or startles you, on reflex, you move to evade something that may not even be a threat, but you want to avoid it because you don't want to take that chance. It's the survival instinct. Yes. But beyond the survival instinct, there is what we call the subconscious mind. All of these subliminal messages you see in movies, music, TV, and even on social media, it comes from the subconscious mind. The part of your mind that doesn't need to think. The part of your mind that instantly processes and stores information. Just like that. It's the part of your mind that you don't really have any control over. Your thoughts are what they are. They come into existence and freely go. We don't really necessarily have any control over our thoughts per se, but we do have control over our actions. There are times where we get into habits and we have this thing called muscle memory, where we do a particular behavior or action so many times, so many days, so many hours, that we just kind of second nature. Just do it in second nature. I had phrased that sentence incorrectly, but that was just my subconscious mind trying to act while my conscious mind is trying to think. Your mind has a mind of its own, right? There are times when we make decisions without even thinking. We don't even think, we just act or react. Why? Because our mind has a mind of its own. Have you ever wondered why you're more prone or you lean more towards a particular thought, a particular behavior, a particular group of people? Just innately. Now, if you would sit down and do some contemplation, think over the people and places that you frequent, you may come to an analysis that makes you second guess your behaviors up until that point. But because most of the time when we live our lives, we just go with the flow. We move without really thinking. You know, it's easier to just mirror the behaviors and thoughts and ideals we see everybody else do that are accepted. You know, a lot of us are living somewhat on a autopilot mode because we don't really use our mind. We don't really think critically. We don't really think in depth. We don't really think at all. You know what I mean? And in all of that non-thinking, we still can function and survive to a degree. Why? Because your mind has a mind of its own. You ever got a gut feeling about something? Like something's telling you not to go this way, or not to trust this person, or not to go through with this deal or this interaction or what have you? That's your mind, your subconscious mind, telling your conscious mind something it wants you to be wary of, something it wants you to be careful about. And it's not really something we can completely explain, but we've all been there, where we've just had an instinct or a feeling. You know, you're like, something's not right. Something's just not right. Or you may come to a crossroad and you have to make a split decision. You already made the decision, but you just want to contemplate it more because the weight of the decision may have a heavy impact that you may not be ready to deal with. So you want to think it over. You want to think twice. Maybe even get a second opinion and ask someone else, not leaning on our own understanding. You know? But what I'm really talking about when I'm saying your mind has a mind of its own, by default, this mind just acts without thinking. The behaviors and thoughts that you have just naturally, that is your subconscious being, your subconscious mind. And the less you think, the less your conscious mind will steer your life. If you allow your subconscious mind, your lower thoughts, actions, ideas to rule you, you won't really have any control. Your mind will just pick the default settings and just autopilot. And by the time you come to, you won't even know where you're at. You're like, how did I end up here? Where is everybody? What's going on? Because your mind has a mind of its own. If you ever had a moment where you wasn't sure if you were awake or still dreaming, hallucinating, or something of the sort, you'll realize that that dream world, that fever dream or whatever it is that you're experiencing, it's all in your mind. No one outside of you or outside of someone who can relate to the experience that you're having can even see what's going on. They don't have any idea. All they can see is how you're acting and or reacting to whatever's going on inside the world, the universe, the galaxy of your consciousness, of your brain, your mind. So when we talk about the consciousness and the subconsciousness, it's really the formula of our behaviors, the way we act or react, our thoughts and actions, our thoughts into actions. What I realize is, even if we don't make a decision, we're still making a decision because our mind's gonna do the work for us, even if we don't think it will. Your mind is only one part of your being. Your mind is probably more closer related to your soul, and your subconscious probably more closer related to your heart, your instincts, your feelings, your intuitions. And your conscious mind is your thought process, your decision making, your deductive reasoning. All of these things. The totality of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is what makes up our being and or our identity. That's another thing. Our identity is really constructed by the thoughts that we have. Our identity is shaped by our consciousness, what we can perceive and understand, as well as our subconscious, what we feel, what we think, what may be. I want you to try to get a hold of that other part of your mind. What am I really saying? I want you to use your conscious mind more. I want you to actually think. Don't be afraid to think. Sometimes you'll think about something and you'll feel one type of way about it, and then you'll come back to it and think again. And you say, you know what? Maybe that's not such a great idea. Because you had a meeting with your subconscious mind and you said, hold on. Now, before, I felt good about this, and that was because I didn't have the whole picture. I didn't see all there was to see. And even now I still don't, but I can see more, and I see that this ain't something I want to see. You see me? But anyway, right? Going a little bit deeper, with your mind has a mind of its own. You have to choose. And when you don't choose, it's like your subconscious mind or even life itself will make the choice for you. You see what I'm saying? So, think about it like this. In life, you always have a choice, even if it is to not choose. And because your mind has a mind of its own, you have to control it. You have to rein it in. You have to gain discipline and mastery over your second mind. Yes, you have more than one mind. Your brain has like 4 different quadrants. The frontal left lobe, the frontal right lobe. You know what I mean? It's like the I forget what the rear lobe is. Maybe it was called the rear lobe. You know what I mean? You got the frontal lobe, the rear lobe. What is that? I forget what it is. Is it medulla oblongata? All that stuff. Well, your mind has different pieces and parts. There's a part that stores information. There's a part that recalls information. You know what I mean? Your mind is so many different things. But you're only really conscious of it when you're thinking. You're only really conscious of your mind when you're using it. Imagine this. Imagine using your mind more, would strengthen your consciousness. Because your mind is a muscle, believe it or not. So is your tongue. Your tongue is apparently the strongest muscle in your body. Your tongue can lift and push more than your biceps can, right? Your bicep in and of itself, it can't do much. It can only work with in conjunction with the elbow, the forearm, the shoulder, you know what I mean? The wrist. It has to work in concert with all of these other things to get something done. It needs multiple muscles, right? You got the muscles in your fingers and your wrist. You got the muscles in your shoulder, you know what I mean? The tendons in your elbows. You got your knuckles, you know what I mean? You got all these things working just to do one task, like open a door, right? Your tongue can mimic the movements of your arm. That's why they say it's the strongest muscle in your body. It can actually do stuff in and of itself. But enough about that, right? Your mind is the smartest muscle in your body. And the more you strengthen your consciousness, the more you strengthen your mind. They say knowledge is power. You know what I mean? Knowledge is power. So the more you use your mind in a way that you can control it, you know what I mean? The more you discipline yourself from reacting so suddenly, you discipline yourself from getting all upset and angry about things you can't control or things that may offend you. What I'm really saying is, right, you have the ability to control the part of your mind that wants to be uncontrollable, that wants to be free and do whatever, right? Because you have a split consciousness, because you have two brains in one, so to speak, you have double the ability of thinking than you've been using. But you can only gain mastery of your subconscious mind the more you think. I know I talked about, in all your thinking, leave some room for doing, because you'll never get anything done by just talking and thinking. You know what I mean? You gotta do things. But the more you think, the stronger your thoughts get. The stronger you're able to control your actions. You get a better sense of self, a better sense of discipline. You become stronger. You become better. Because it all starts with your mind. We're just one big mass of muscle and consciousness and vibration. Energy. Right? So start today in reining in that other part of your mind. They always say, I wonder what it would be like if we could use 100% of our brain. We may not be able to get to the 100% mark in our lifetimes, but we can definitely get closer to at least 10% if we actually start thinking. It seems like that's human beings' biggest weakness. We only want to think when we actually have to. I know people like to talk about fitness and strengthening their muscles and doing calisthenics and fireman burpees and all that. Strengthen your mind. Because your mind wants to control you more than you want to control it. That being said, hope you're waking up every day with a plan, purpose, and a smile. If you're not waking up with a plan, purpose, and a smile, hey, at least you're waking up. I want you to go ahead and like this video, because I know you like this one. Share the video, because you're not stingy, you're not selfish. And last but not least, subscribe, because you came back too many times not to push that button. Professor Hawk signing out. Hawk Sensei bids you adieu. Class is dismissed. Take care, guys.